You're a coward, the 14-year-old boy said, standing in my living room with blood on his knuckles. My father died protecting your secret, and you're just going to let them kill me too? My fiancée Sarah stood frozen in the doorway, her detective's badge still clipped to her belt. She didn't know. God, she didn't know anything. Let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here, how one Sunday drive shattered the life I'd spent 15 years building on lies. It was supposed to be a perfect afternoon. Sarah and I were driving through the old neighborhood, the one I'd escaped when I was 23. She wanted to see where I grew up, wanted to understand the parts of me I never talked about. I should have said no. I should have driven anywhere else. But I didn't. It's kind of rough, I told her, watching the familiar broken streetlights pass by. Not much to see. I want to know you, she said, her hand warm on my thigh. All of you. If only she knew what she was asking for. That's when we saw it, the funeral procession moving slowly down Maple Street. Black hearse, maybe a dozen cars following. Sarah slowed down out of respect, and I glanced over out of habit. My heart stopped. The photo on the side of the hearse. That face. Jeff's face. Baby, you okay? Sarah's voice sounded far away. You look like you've seen a ghost. I had. In every way that mattered, I had. I'm fine, I lied, but my hands were shaking. Just someone I used to know. Jeff Rivera. My best friend since we were 7 years old. The kid who shared his lunch when my mom forgot to pack mine. The teenager who had my back in every fight. The man who took 15 years in prison for a crime we both committed. While I walked free. Do you want to stop? Sarah asked. Pay your respects? No. Every instinct screamed no. I'd buried that part of my life. Changed my name from Antonio Castellano to Anthony Castle. Got an MBA. Built a consulting firm. Became the kind of man who wore tailored suits and belonged to a country club. The kind of man Sarah's police captain father could approve of. Yeah, I heard myself say. Yeah, I should. Why did I say that? Pride? Guilt? Some twisted need to witness what my cowardice had cost? We followed the procession to St. Mary's Cemetery. Sarah stayed by the car, she understood grief, understood I might need a moment. I walked toward the growing crowd around the grave, my Italian leather shoes sinking slightly into the grass that Jeff would never walk on again. He'd been out for 6 months. 6 months of freedom after 15 years of hell, and now he was dead. I stayed at the back, hood of my jacket up, watching from a distance. His mother was there, older now, bent with grief. His sister. People from the neighborhood I vaguely recognized. And a boy. 14, maybe 15. Tall, with Jeff's dark eyes and his mother's sharp cheekbones. He stood rigid beside the casket, not crying, just staring ahead like he was made of stone. The service was short. I should have left. But I couldn't move, couldn't stop watching that boy who looked so much like the friend I'd abandoned. When it was over, when people started to drift away, I finally turned to go. Anthony Castle. The voice stopped me cold. I turned. The boy was walking toward me, hands in the pockets of his too big suit jacket. I started. Save it, he said. I know who you are. My dad kept a picture. You were younger, called yourself Antonio back then. My mouth went dry. Kid, I think you're confused. Diego, he interrupted. My name's Diego. And you need to come with me. Now. Something in his voice, the urgency, the fear underneath the anger, made me follow him away from the crowd, toward a cluster of oak trees at the cemetery's edge. My father said if anything ever happened to him, I should find you, Diego said, pulling an envelope from inside his jacket. He said you owed him. He said you'd understand. The envelope was worn, like it had been carried for a while. My name, my real name, was written on it in Jeff's handwriting. I opened it with shaking hands. Antonio. If Diego is reading this to you, I'm dead. And if I'm dead, it's because of what I knew about you, about us, about that night 15 years ago. The Salvatore family never forgot. They just waited. They've been watching me since I got out, waiting to see if I'd talk, if I'd tell anyone what really happened to their shipment, where the money really went. I never told them you were involved. I kept your secret even when they put cigarettes out on my arms in prison. Even when they threatened my family. I kept my mouth shut because you were my brother. But now they think Diego knows. They think I told my son everything before I died. He doesn't know anything, he's just a kid, but they won't believe that. You owe me 15 years. You owe me my son's life. Protect him like you should have protected me. Jeff. The letter fell from my hands. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. What does it say? Diego asked. He wouldn't tell me. Just said to give it to you, that you'd know what to do. I looked at this boy, this child, who was marked for death because of my sins. We need to go, I said. Right now. Go where? I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's. They killed your father, I said, the words tearing out of me. And they're coming for you next. We need to leave. Now. His face went white. What are you talking about? My dad died in a car accident. The police said. The police were wrong. I grabbed his arm. Diego, I know this doesn't make sense, but if you want to live through the night, you need to trust me. Why should I trust you? I don't even know you. Because your father did. The truth of it hit me like a fist. And he died still trusting me, even after I betrayed him. Sarah was walking toward us across the cemetery. Diego saw her too, saw the badge. Is she a cop? His voice cracked with panic. She's my fiancée. Your fiancé is a cop and you want me to, he stepped back. Oh God. Oh God, you're going to turn me in. You're going to. Diego, no. I'm trying to save you. From what? What did my dad do? What did you do? Sarah was getting closer. 20 feet away. 15. Everything okay? She called out. No. Nothing was okay. Nothing would ever be okay again. Fine, I said, my voice remarkably steady. Just a friend's son. His dad and I went way back. Diego stared at me, his dark eyes full of confusion and fear and something that looked like betrayal. He didn't understand yet. Didn't know that I'd already betrayed his father once, and now I had to choose whether to do it again. We should get going, Sarah said, reaching us. She smiled kindly at Diego. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you, he mumbled. She started walking back toward the car. I should have followed. Should have gotten in that car, driven away, let Diego figure out his own survival. But I looked at his face, so much like Jeff's, and I couldn't move. Where are you staying? I asked quietly. With my aunt. But I'm not. Don't go there. I pulled out my phone, typed quickly. There's a diner on 5th and Broadway. Meet me there in 2 hours. Come alone. Don't tell anyone. Why would I? Because your father saved my life once, I said. And I owe him yours. I walked away before he could respond, before I could change my mind, before Sarah could see the guilt written all over my face. In the car, she reached for my hand. You okay? You've been quiet. Just thinking about old times, I said. Another lie. I was so good at lying now. Want to talk about it? Not really. She squeezed my hand. When you're ready. God, she was so good. So honest. So completely wrong for someone like me. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I'll be there. D. 2 hours. In 2 hours, I'd have to decide who I was going to be, the man I'd become, or the man I'd buried 15 years ago. The man Sarah loved, or the man Jeff had died protecting. At home, Sarah changed out of her dress clothes while I stood in our bedroom, staring at the life we'd built. Photos of us on vacation in Cabo. Her police academy graduation. The night I proposed at that overpriced restaurant downtown. All of it built on a foundation of lies. I have to go out, I called to her in the bathroom. Work thing. Emergency client meeting. She appeared in the doorway, half-dressed. Even now, even terrified, I noticed how beautiful she was. On a Sunday? Big account. Won't take long. Another lie. They came so easily now. She kissed me. Don't work too hard. I held her maybe a second too long. She pulled back, studied my face. You sure you're okay? Perfect, I lied. The diner was nearly empty when I arrived. Diego was already there, sitting in a corner booth, a cup of coffee going cold in front of him. He looked so young in the fluorescent lights. I slid into the seat across from him. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. My dad talked about you, Diego finally said. Not by name. Just, his friend. The one who got away. He said it without bitterness, you know? Like he was proud of you for making it out. The guilt was a physical thing, pressing on my chest. Diego. What happened? He interrupted. What did you two do? I looked around the diner. Old couple by the window. Waitress scrolling on her phone. No one paying attention to us. 15 years ago, your father and I worked for a man named Hendrik Salvatore, I started. Small-time stuff at first. Running errands, making deliveries. We were stupid kids who thought we were invincible. Diego listened, his jaw tight. One night, Hendrik asked us to pick up a shipment from the docks. Said it was worth $500,000. Told us to bring it straight to his warehouse. I paused, the memory sharp as glass. We got there, and it was drugs. Enough cocaine to put us away for life if we got caught. So what happened? Your father wanted to back out. Said we were in too deep. But I convinced him to go through with it. The words tasted like poison. I told him we'd do this one job, take our cut, and get out. Start over somewhere clean. Diego's hands were shaking. He gripped the coffee cup tighter. On the way to the warehouse, we got pulled over. Routine traffic stop. The cop didn't know what we had in the trunk, but your father panicked. He ran. Led them on a chase while I sat there like an idiot. But you had the drugs in your car, Diego said slowly. Yeah. So how did my dad end up in prison? This was it. The truth I'd buried for 15 years. Because I called Hendrik while the cops had me pulled over, I said. Told him what happened. He sent people to clean out the car before the cops searched it thoroughly. Made it look like I was just some kid with a broken taillight. Meanwhile, your father crashed 3 miles away. They found his car abandoned with drugs planted inside. Diego's face went white. Planted? Hendrik's people moved the shipment to your father's car. Made it look like he was the one running drugs, like I was just an innocent bystander he'd convinced to give him a ride. And you let him take the fall. It wasn't a question. I testified against him, I said, the confession like swallowing glass. Hendrik told me if I played along, I'd walk free. If I didn't, we'd both go down. I was 23, Diego. I was terrified. And I was a coward. Diego stood up abruptly. His chair scraped loud against the linoleum. You son of a... I know. He spent 15 years in prison for you. 15 years. And you just, what? Went to college? Got a nice job? Found a pretty cop girlfriend? Every word was a knife. Yes. Why? His voice cracked. Why didn't he ever tell anyone the truth? Because Hendrik Salvatore would have killed both of us if he had. And because... I swallowed hard. Because your father believed I deserved a chance at a real life. He told me that. The last time I saw him, right before the trial, he said one of us should make it out. Diego sat back down heavily, like his legs wouldn't hold him anymore. I don't understand any of this. My dad was a good person. He worked construction. He coached my baseball team. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't, I agreed. We made one mistake, one stupid, terrible mistake, and it cost him everything. And now he's dead because of it. Yes. The waitress came by, refilled Diego's coffee even though he hadn't touched it. We sat in silence until she left. The letter said they're coming for me, Diego said finally. Why? I don't know anything about any of this. Because Hendrik Salvatore doesn't take chances. Your father knew too much, about the setup, about Hendrik's operation, about everything. Hendrik probably had him killed to make sure he'd never talk. And now he thinks Jeff might have told you everything before he died. But he didn't. I didn't even know my dad was involved in... Diego stopped, his eyes going wide. The accident. There was another car. The police said it was a hit and run, but what if? It wasn't an accident, I confirmed. I'm sorry. Diego put his head in his hands. His shoulders shook. He was just a kid who'd buried his father today, who'd just learned his whole life was a lie. I wanted to reach out, to comfort him, but I had no right. What am I supposed to do? He asked, his voice muffled. Where am I supposed to go? I have a plan, I said. But you're not going to like it. He looked up, his eyes red. Try me. You come stay with me. I tell Sarah you're a friend's son who needs a place to crash while your family sorts things out. We keep you close, keep you safe, until I can figure out how to deal with Hendrik. Diego laughed bitterly. Stay with you and your cop fiancée? That's your plan? She has access to police resources. And Hendrik's people won't expect you to be hiding with law enforcement. This is insane. You're insane. Probably. I leaned forward. But it's the only option that keeps you breathing. Why should I trust you? You betrayed my father. You let him rot in prison. Why would you help me now? Because your father was right, I said. I am a coward. I've been running from what I did for 15 years. But I'm not going to run from this. Not from you. Diego stared at me for a long moment. I could see him weighing his options, calculating his chances. If you're lying to me, he said slowly, if this is some kind of trap. It's not. How do I know that? You don't, I admitted. You just have to decide if you believe your father's judgment. He trusted me with your life. Was he wrong? The question hung between us like smoke. I don't know, Diego whispered. I don't know anything anymore. My phone rang. Sarah. I sent it to voicemail. I need an answer, I told Diego. Every minute we sit here, you're exposed. He closed his eyes. Took a deep breath. When he opened them again, something had hardened there, a decision made, for better or worse. Okay, he said. But the second I think you're setting me up, I'm gone. Fair enough. We left the diner separately. I gave him my address, told him to show up in an hour, to bring whatever he had with him. As I drove home, my hands wouldn't stop shaking on the steering wheel. What was I doing? Bringing a target into my home? Lying to Sarah about who this kid was? This wasn't a solution, it was a disaster waiting to happen. But what choice did I have? Walk away? Let another person die because of my cowardice? Not again. Never again. Sarah was in the kitchen when I got home, making dinner. The smell of garlic and tomatoes filled the apartment, her grandmother's pasta sauce recipe. How'd the meeting go? She asked, not looking up from the stove. Fine. Actually, something came up. I leaned against the counter, trying to look casual. Remember that kid from the funeral? Jeff's son? Yeah. Diego. His family situation is complicated right now. His aunt's place is overcrowded, and he's going through a rough time. I told him he could crash here for a few days. Just until things settle down. Sarah turned to look at me, wooden spoon in hand. That's really sweet of you, babe. Of course he can stay. The guilt was crushing. She was so trusting, so willing to see the best in me. He might be a little standoffish, I added. Grief, you know. Poor kid. She went back to stirring. Losing a parent at that age. I can't imagine. There was a knock at the door 20 minutes later. Diego stood in the hallway with a backpack that looked like it held everything he owned. This is a mistake, he said quietly. Probably, I agreed. Come on in anyway. Sarah was warm, welcoming, asking Diego if he was hungry, showing him to the guest room. He was polite but distant, playing the role of a grieving kid perfectly. I wondered if it was an act or if he was genuinely drowning in shock. At dinner, Sarah asked gentle questions about school, about his interests. Diego answered in short sentences, pushing pasta around his plate. I'm sorry about your dad, Sarah said. Anthony mentioned you two were close. Yeah, Diego muttered. We were. If you need anything at all, while you're here, just ask. Okay? He nodded, not meeting her eyes. After dinner, Sarah went to bed early, she had an early shift. I found Diego sitting on the guest bed, staring at nothing. You okay? I asked from the doorway. Does it matter? Yeah. It does. He looked up at me, and there was so much anger in his young face. My dad is dead. The man who killed him is probably planning to kill me. I'm hiding in a stranger's house, lying to a cop. So no, Anthony, I'm not okay. I know this is. You don't know anything, he interrupted. You got to walk away. You got to build this perfect life while my dad was in a cell. And now you want credit for helping me? Like this makes up for what you did? Every word was true. Every word was deserved. It doesn't, I said. Nothing I do will ever make up for it. But I'm going to try anyway. Diego looked away. Whatever. Just leave me alone. I closed the door, leaving him to his grief and rage. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to Sarah, listening to her breathing, wondering how long I could keep this lie going. Wondering what would happen when, not if, but when, it all fell apart. Around 3 a.m, I heard movement in the hallway. I got up quietly, found Diego in the kitchen, going through drawers. Looking for something? I asked. He jumped, spun around. I couldn't sleep. Me neither. I moved slowly, non-threateningly. Looking for a knife? His jaw clenched. Maybe. Smart. But you won't need it here. How do I know that? You don't. I opened a drawer, pulled out the largest kitchen knife we had. Handed it to him. Feel better? He took it, confusion crossing his face. What are you doing? Giving you a reason to trust me. If I wanted you dead, Diego, I wouldn't have brought you here. He held the knife uncertainly. This could be a trap. You could be waiting for me to do something that gives you an excuse to. To what? Kill you in my own apartment with my cop fiancé sleeping 20 feet away? I shook my head. I'm not that stupid. Then what's your angle? No angle. Just guilt. I sat down at the kitchen table. Your father was the best person I ever knew. And I destroyed his life. I'm not going to let you become collateral damage for my mistakes. Diego set the knife down on the counter, but kept his hand near it. You really think you can protect me from the Salvatores? I don't know, I admitted. But I'm going to try. Why now? Why after 15 years? Because I'm tired, I said quietly. Tired of running from who I was. Tired of the lies. When I saw your father's picture on that hearse, something in me broke. Or maybe it finally started working again. Diego studied me for a long moment. My dad used to have nightmares. I'd hear him sometimes, calling out in his sleep. Names I didn't recognize. Places I'd never heard of. He'd wake up sweating, shaking. The guilt was a physical pain in my chest. One time, I asked him about it, Diego continued. He said everyone has ghosts. Some people just have more than others. I asked him what his ghosts wanted. You know what he said? I shook my head. He said they wanted him to forgive himself. To forgive someone else. I never knew who he meant. Diego's voice cracked. It was you, wasn't it? You were the ghost he couldn't let go of. I couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. He never stopped caring about you, Diego said, and it sounded like an accusation. Even after everything. Even after 15 years. How pathetic is that? Not pathetic, I managed. Incredible. Your father was an incredible person. Yeah, well, he's dead now. So what good did it do him? Before I could answer, we heard a noise from the bedroom. Sarah appeared in the doorway, sleepy and concerned. Everything okay out here? She asked. Fine, I said quickly. Just couldn't sleep. Making tea. She looked between us, sensing something off but not sure what. Diego, you okay? Yeah, he said. Just missing my dad. Sarah's expression softened. Come here, honey. She pulled him into a hug. He stood stiffly for a moment, then slowly, reluctantly, hugged her back. I watched this woman I loved comforting this boy I'd endangered, and the weight of my lies felt unbearable. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Sarah left for her shift, reminding Diego to make himself at home. The second the door closed behind her, he turned to me. What now? Now I make some calls. See what I can find out about Hendrik's operation. Where he is, what he knows, what he's planning. And how exactly are you going to do that? It's been 15 years. You really think you still have connections? I kept track, I admitted. Not actively, but I needed to know. Needed to make sure they weren't coming for me. Diego's lip curled. Of course you did. Always looking out for number one. I couldn't argue with that. I spent the day reaching out to old contacts, people I'd thought I'd never speak to again. Most didn't answer. A few hung up when they heard my voice. But one, Tommy DiCarlo, who'd been Hendrik's driver back in the day, actually talked. Antonio Castellano, he said, and I could hear the surprise in his voice. Thought you were dead. Or smart enough to stay hidden. I need information, Tommy. About what? Jeff Rivera. Silence on the other end. Then, you've got some balls bringing up that name. He's dead. Yeah, I heard. Shame. He was a solid guy. Was it Hendrik? More silence. I don't know what you're talking about. Tommy, please. I need to know. Why? What's it to you after all these years? Because he had a son. And I think that son is in danger. Tommy exhaled slowly. Listen to me very carefully, Antonio. Whatever you think you know, whatever you think you're going to do, forget it. Walk away. Hendrik's not the small-time operator you remember. He's connected now. Real power. And he doesn't leave loose ends. Is Diego a loose end? If Hendrik thinks Jeff told him anything? Yeah. The kid's a walking corpse. My stomach dropped. There has to be a way to. There isn't. The only thing you can do is get that boy far away from here. New identity, new life, new everything. And even then. He trailed off. Even then what? Even then, Hendrik might find him eventually. The man holds grudges like the rest of us hold grudges, only he's got the resources to actually do something about them. What if I could prove Diego doesn't know anything? Tommy laughed, but it wasn't amused. How? You gonna get the kid on the phone with Hendrik? Hey, Mr. Salvatore, I swear my dead father didn't tell me about your criminal empire before you had him killed? That'll go great. There has to be something. There isn't. I'm sorry, Antonio. I really am. But this is above your pay grade now. Way above. He hung up. I sat there holding my phone, feeling the walls closing in. Diego was watching me from across the room. Bad news? He asked. We need a new plan. What kind of plan? The kind where you disappear. New name, new city, new everything. Diego's face went hard. Run away? That's your solution? It's the only solution that keeps you alive. What about you? You just go back to your perfect life? Marry your cop girlfriend? Pretend none of this happened? If it keeps you safe, yes. Bullshit. He stood up, pacing. You don't get to do this. You don't get to ease your conscience by shipping me off somewhere and then forgetting I exist. I'm trying to save your life. My life? He laughed bitterly. What life? My dad is dead. My family is terrified. I can't go home. Can't go to school. Can't have friends. I'm already gone, Anthony. You just don't want to admit it. The truth of it hit me like a punch. He was right. I was trying to solve this the easy way, make the problem disappear so I could go back to my comfortable lies. Then what do you want me to do? I asked. I want you to make this right. For real. Not by hiding me away, but by actually dealing with the people who killed my father. Diego, that's suicide. Hendrik Salvatore has politicians in his pocket, judges on his payroll. I'm just a guy with a consulting firm and a guilty conscience. Then what good are you? The question was simple, devastating. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Antonio Castellano. The voice was smooth, familiar in a way that made my blood run cold. Long time. Hendrik Salvatore. I don't go by that name anymore, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. No, you're Anthony Castle now. Respectable businessman. Engaged to Sarah Martinez, Detective Sarah Martinez. Congratulations. The threat was implicit. He knew where I was, who I loved. What do you want, Hendrik? I think you know. I'm looking for Jeff Rivera's son. Diego. 14 years old. Last seen at his father's funeral. Why would I know where he is? Because you were at the funeral. Because you talked to him. Because despite everything, you and Jeff were always loyal to each other. Too loyal for your own good. I looked at Diego. His eyes were wide, terrified. I haven't seen him, I lied. Really? That's disappointing. See, I was hoping you'd be smart about this. Hand over the boy, and we can all go back to our lives. No trouble, no mess. And if I don't have him? Then I'll assume you're hiding him. And I'll have to take that personally. Hendrik's voice hardened. You got out, Antonio. You built a nice life. Don't throw it away for a dead man's kid. He's just a boy. He doesn't know anything. Maybe. Maybe not. But I can't take that chance. What if I could prove it? What if I could show you he's not a threat? Hendrik sighed, like I was a disappointing student. This isn't a negotiation. Find the boy. Turn him over. Or I start taking apart your life piece by piece. Starting with that pretty detective you're planning to marry. The line went dead. Diego was shaking. He knows. He knows I'm here. He doesn't know for sure. He's fishing. You heard him. He threatened your fiancée. Sarah's in danger because of me. Sarah's in danger because of me, I corrected. Because of choices I made 15 years ago. So what are we going to do? I stood up, my mind racing. We're going to do something incredibly stupid. What? We're going to meet with Hendrik. Face to face. Are you insane? He'll kill us both. Maybe. But it's the only way to end this without running for the rest of your life. Diego stared at me like I'd lost my mind. And what exactly are we going to say to him? Please don't kill the kid? That's your plan? No. My plan is to give him what he really wants. Which is? Me. The word came out quiet, certain. He wants to make sure the past stays buried. Right now, he thinks you're the loose end. But the truth is, I'm the only one who can actually hurt him. I know things. Names, dates, accounts. If I wanted to, I could bring his whole operation down. So you're going to, what? Threaten him? I'm going to make a trade. I'll guarantee my silence, forever, in exchange for your safety. He'll never go for it. He will if I make it worth his while. And if I make it clear what happens if anything happens to you or me. Diego shook his head. This is crazy. You're going to get us both killed. Probably, I agreed. But it's better than doing nothing. The guest room door opened. We both spun around. Sarah stood there, still in her uniform, her service weapon on her hip, her face unreadable. How long have you been home? I asked, my heart hammering. Long enough. She looked between us. Who's Hendrik Salvatore? The moment I'd been dreading. The moment everything fell apart. Sarah, I can explain. Then explain. Her voice was cold, professional. This wasn't my fiancé, this was Detective Martinez. Who is Hendrik Salvatore, and why is he threatening me? Diego stood up. I should go. Sit down, Sarah ordered. To me, talk. Now. So I told her. Everything. The drugs, the setup, Jeff taking the fall, 15 years of lies. Hendrik's call. The threat to her life. I watched her face as I spoke, watched the woman I loved realize she didn't know me at all. When I finished, the silence was deafening. You let an innocent man go to prison, Sarah said finally. For 15 years. Yes. You lied to me. About everything. About who you are, where you came from, your whole past. Yes. And now there's a mob boss threatening to kill me because you brought his target into our home. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Sarah. Don't. She held up a hand. Don't you dare apologize to me right now. She walked to the window, her back to us. I could see her hand shaking. I should arrest you, she said quietly. Both of you. Call this in, let the department handle it. They can't protect Diego, I said. Hendrik has cops on his payroll. The second you make an official report, he'll know. So what's your solution? Meet with a dangerous criminal and hope he doesn't kill you? It's all I've got. She turned around, and there were tears in her eyes. I don't even know who you are. Anthony Castle, is that even your real name? Antonio Castellano. I changed it when I was 23. What else did you change? What else is a lie? How I feel about you, I said. That's real. That's the only real thing I have left. She laughed, but it was broken. How am I supposed to believe that? How am I supposed to believe anything you say ever again? You can't, I admitted. I've given you no reason to trust me. Diego had been silent through all of this, but now he spoke up. It's my fault. I shouldn't have come here. I should have just. No, Sarah interrupted, looking at him. This isn't your fault. You're a child whose father was murdered. You came to the one person who could help you. She turned back to me. The fault is his. All of it. The weight of her words crushed me. But she wasn't wrong. I need to think, Sarah said. I need to. I can't be here right now. Sarah, please. I said I need to think. Her voice broke. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to process this. The man I was going to marry is a criminal who let someone take the fall for him. And now I'm in the middle of some mob war because of it. She grabbed her keys, headed for the door. Where are you going? I asked. Away from you. She paused at the doorway. Don't follow me. Don't call me. I'll come back when I'm ready to deal with this. The door slammed behind her. The sound echoed through the apartment like a gunshot. Diego and I sat in the silence that followed. I'm sorry, he said quietly. You have nothing to be sorry for. I ruined your life. No, I said. I did that all by myself 15 years ago. This is just the bill coming due. I wanted to go after Sarah. Wanted to explain, to beg for forgiveness I didn't deserve. But she'd asked me not to follow, and I owed her at least that much respect. My phone rang again. Hendrik. I'm guessing your girlfriend didn't take the news well, he said, amusement in his voice. Ice flooded my veins. You're watching us. I'm watching everyone, Antonio. It's how I stay ahead. Now, are you ready to talk business, or do I need to apply more pressure? What do you want? I want the boy. Tonight. There's a warehouse on Pier 17. You know the one. I did. It's where Jeff and I were supposed to deliver that shipment 15 years ago. 9 o'clock. You bring Diego, I'll make sure it's quick. Painless. He won't suffer like his father did. And if I don't? Then I start with the detective. Car accidents are so common these days. Tragic, really. He hung up. Diego was watching me. What did he say? He wants us at Pier 17 at 9. So we're going? I'm going. You're staying here. Like hell I am. Diego, this isn't. My father died for you, he said, his voice shaking with anger. The least you can do is let me be there when you try to make it right. Or when you die trying. The kid had a point. Fine. But you do exactly what I say when I say it. No arguments, no heroics. Understood? Understood. We had 4 hours. 4 hours to come up with a plan that wouldn't get us both killed. 4 hours to prepare for a meeting that would probably end with me putting a bullet in my head or Hendrik putting one in mine. I started making calls. Not to criminals this time, to old friends from my new life. People who owed me favors. A lawyer who specialized in protected witnesses. A PI who could work fast and quiet. A guy who ran a charter boat service out of Miami. If this went south, when this went south, I needed Diego to have an escape route. By 6 o'clock, I had something resembling a plan. By 7, I'd transferred most of my savings to an account in Diego's name. By 8, I'd written letters. One to Sarah, trying to explain the inexplicable. One to my parents, who thought their son was a successful businessman. One to Diego, in case I didn't make it. You really think he's going to kill you? Diego asked as we prepared to leave. Honestly? I don't know. Hendrik's practical. If he thinks I'm more valuable alive, he'll let me live. If not. I shrugged. I made my choices. I don't want you to die. The admission surprised us both. Your father died because of me, I said. If I die fixing that, it's a better ending than I deserve. That's bullshit, Diego said fiercely. You don't get to play martyr. You don't get to die and call it even. You have to live. You have to actually deal with what you did. Smart kid. His father would have been proud. At 8:45, we left for the warehouse. The drive was silent. I kept checking my mirrors, looking for tails. The streets of the industrial district were empty, abandoned buildings and rusted equipment everywhere. Pier 17 loomed ahead, a massive structure that had seen better days. I parked a block away. Last chance to back out, I told Diego. No backing out. We walked toward the warehouse together. The door was open, light spilling out into the darkness. Inside, I could see figures moving. Stay behind me, I said. No matter what happens. We stepped inside. Hendrik Salvatore stood in the center of the warehouse, flanked by 4 men I didn't recognize. He was older than I remembered, graying at the temples, more weight around his middle, but his eyes were the same. Cold, calculating, patient. Antonio, he said warmly, like we were old friends. You actually came. I'm impressed. You threatened someone I love. What choice did I have? Fair point. His gaze shifted to Diego. And you brought the boy. Even better. Before this goes any further, I said, I want to propose a deal. Hendrik smiled. I'm listening. Diego doesn't know anything. He's not a threat to you. His father never told him about your operation, never mentioned your name. The kid's clean. So you say. So I'll prove. Right now. Ask him anything. He won't know what you're talking about. Hendrik considered this. Interesting. But I have a better idea. He gestured to one of his men, who stepped forward with a gun. Why don't we just eliminate the variable entirely? The gun was pointed at Diego. Wait! I stepped in front of the boy. You want insurance? I'll give you insurance. I know things, Hendrik. Names, accounts, operations from 15 years ago that are still active. Information that could bring down your entire organization. That sounds like a threat, Antonio. It's leverage. I've prepared documents. Evidence. Everything I know about your operation, sealed and ready to be delivered to the FBI if anything happens to me or Diego. Hendrik's expression darkened. You're bluffing. Am I? You want to take that chance? The standoff stretched out, tension thick enough to choke on. I could feel Diego shaking behind me, could hear my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. You've got balls, Hendrik said finally. I'll give you that. But you're forgetting something important. What's that? I don't leave loose ends. He nodded to his men. 3 things happened at once. The man with the gun raised it toward me. Diego shouted something I couldn't make out. And the warehouse doors burst open. Police. Everyone on the ground. Sarah. Sarah had followed us. Or called it in. Or somehow known exactly where we'd be. Chaos erupted. Hendrik's men scattered. Gunfire exploded through the warehouse, actual gunfire, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. I grabbed Diego, pulled him down behind a stack of crates. Stay down! I shouted over the noise. More police poured in. I could see Sarah, weapon drawn, shouting commands. She was in full tactical gear, backed up by what looked like half the precinct. Hendrik was trying to escape through a back door. One of his men was already on the ground, bleeding. Another had his hands up, surrendering. And then Hendrik saw Diego. I watched it happen like it was in slow motion. Hendrik changing direction, pulling his own weapon, aiming not at the police but at the boy who'd caused him so much trouble. I didn't think. Just moved. The impact of the bullet felt like being hit with a sledgehammer. I went down hard, the world spinning, pain blooming across my chest like fire. Antonio! Diego's voice, terrified. More gunfire. Shouting. Someone screaming. I couldn't tell who. Sarah's face appeared above me. She was saying something, but I couldn't hear her over the ringing in my ears. Her hands were on my chest, pressure, so much pressure. Stay with me, I read on her lips. Don't you dare die on me. Funny. After everything, after all the lies, she still cared enough to want me alive. Diego was there too, his young face pale with shock. You jumped in front of me. Why would you do that? Owed your father, I managed to say. Every word hurt. This makes us even. You idiot, Diego said, but he was crying. You stupid, stupid idiot. Sirens. Lots of sirens. Paramedics appeared, pushing Sarah aside. She was arguing with them, flashing her badge, insisting on staying close. They loaded me onto a gurney. The ceiling of the warehouse spun above me. I tried to stay conscious, tried to keep my eyes open, but the darkness was so inviting. I love you, I heard Sarah say. Or maybe I imagined it. I'm so angry at you, but I love you. Then nothing. I woke up in a hospital room. Bright lights. Antiseptic smell. The steady beep of monitors. Sarah was asleep in a chair beside my bed, her hand wrapped around mine. She looked exhausted, still in her tactical gear, dried blood, my blood, on her hands. I tried to speak, but my throat was too dry. The sound I made was more like a croak. Her eyes flew open. You're awake. Oh God, you're awake. She hit the call button, stood up. Don't try to talk. You've been out for 2 days. 2 days. A nurse came in, checked my vitals, adjusted something on my fore. She looked pleased. "Welcome back," she said. "You gave everyone quite a scare." When she left, Sarah sat back down. Her eyes were red from crying. "Diego?" I managed to whisper. "He's safe. Protective custody until we can sort everything out. He's been asking about you constantly." "Hendrik?" "Dead. He went for his gun when he had Diego in his sights. Officers didn't have a choice." She paused. "You saved that boy's life, Antonio. Or Anthony. Whoever you are." "I'm sorry," I said. "For everything. For all the lies." She was quiet for a long moment. "I should hate you. Part of me does hate you. You lied to me about everything. Your past, your name, your crimes. Everything. I know. But I can't stop loving you," she continued, tears streaming down her face. "And I hate myself for that. For loving a man who let someone go to prison in his place. Who built his whole life on a lie." "You should leave me," I said. "You deserve better than this." "Better than me." "Probably." She wiped her eyes. "But here's the thing, when I saw Hendrik aiming at that boy, when I saw you jump in front of him without hesitation, I realized something. The man I fell in love with wasn't entirely a lie. That person exists. He's just buried under 15 years of guilt and fear." "Sarah." "I'm not saying I forgive you," she interrupted. "I don't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'm also not walking away. Not when you almost died trying to make things right. What happens now? Now you heal. Then you face consequences for what you did. I can't protect you from that, and I won't try. But I'll be there. Through the investigation, the trial, whatever comes next. You could lose your job. Associating with me. Let me worry about my job." She squeezed my hand. "You worry about getting better." The door opened. Diego stood there, looking uncertain. A social worker hovered behind him. "Can I come in?" he asked. Sarah nodded, standing up. "I'll give you two some privacy." Diego approached the bed slowly. He changed clothes, looked cleaner, but the grief was still written all over his face. "They said you're going to be okay," he said. "Looks like it. Why did you do it? Jump in front of me?" I thought about Jeff. About 15 years of guilt. About the debt I could never fully repay. "Because your father would have done the same for me," I said. "And I owed him that much." Diego nodded slowly. "The social worker says I'll probably go into foster care. My aunt can't take me, and my mom's been gone since I was little." "I'm sorry." "It's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but at least I'm alive to go to foster care, right?" He tried to smile, failed. "They said you're going to face charges. For what happened 15 years ago." "Probably." "Will you go to prison?" "Maybe. I don't know. That's what happened to my dad. He went to prison because of you, and now you might go to prison because of what you did to him." Diego's voice was flat, emotionless. "Is that karma? Is that how it works?" "I guess so." We sat in silence for a moment. "I don't forgive you," Diego said finally. "For what you did to my father. I can't. Not yet. I understand. But I'm alive because of you. So I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to feel about you." "You don't have to feel anything," I said. "You don't owe me anything, Diego. Not gratitude, not forgiveness, nothing." He nodded, looked away. They're taking me to a temporary placement today. The social worker said I might be there for a while. I've set up an account for you. For school, for college, whatever you need. It's in your name. No one can touch it but you. You don't have to. I want to. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. But it's something. Diego's eyes filled with tears. My dad used to tell me that good men make mistakes. That what matters is what they do after. Whether they run from it or face it. Your dad was right. He also said that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is forgive yourself. Diego wiped his eyes. I think he was talking about you. Even after everything, he wanted you to forgive yourself. The truth of it hit me like another bullet. Jeff had spent 15 years in prison, and he'd spent that time hoping I'd find peace. Not anger. Not revenge. Peace. I don't know if I can, I admitted. Maybe you should try. For him. Diego left a few minutes later. I watched him go, this boy who looked so much like the friend I'd failed, wondering if I'd ever see him again. The weeks that followed were a blur. Surgery. Recovery. Testimony. The district attorney wanted to prosecute me for my role in the drug trafficking from 15 years ago. My lawyer argued that I'd been coerced, that Hendrik had threatened my life. Sarah testified on my behalf. So did Diego, though he didn't have to. He told the court about the letter his father had written, about how Jeff had never wanted revenge, only protection for his son. In the end, I got a plea deal. 3 years in a minimum security facility, parole after 18 months for good behavior. It wasn't nothing, but it wasn't the life sentence I'd feared. Sarah came to see me the day before I had to report to begin serving my sentence. We sat in my apartment, soon to be her apartment, since I'd signed everything over to her. You don't have to wait for me, I told her. 18 months is a long time. It's really not, she said. Not compared to what Jeff did. Sarah. I'm not him, she interrupted. I can't be as forgiving as he was. But I can be here when you get out. If you want me to be. Of course I want you to be. But you deserve someone better than. Stop telling me what I deserve, she said firmly. Let me make my own choices. I'm choosing to wait. I'm choosing to believe the man who jumped in front of a bullet for a kid he barely knew is the real you. Not the scared 23-year-old who made terrible choices. What if you're wrong? Then I'll deal with it when you get out. She took my hand. But I don't think I'm wrong. We sat together in silence, holding on to each other while we still could. The day I reported to begin my sentence, Diego was there. He'd been placed with a foster family who seemed decent, was doing okay in school. He stood with Sarah as I surrendered myself. I'll write to you, he said. If that's okay. I'd like that. And when you get out. He trailed off, uncertain. Yeah? Maybe we could talk. About my dad. About what he was like when you were kids. I want to know that part of him. I'd like that too. They took me inside. Processed me. Gave me a uniform, a cell number, a schedule. It was nothing compared to what Jeff had endured, but it was something. The first few months were the hardest. Adjusting to the routine, the lack of freedom, the constant noise. But Sarah wrote to me every week. Long letters about her day, about cases she was working on, about the life waiting for me on the outside. Diego wrote too, shorter letters but filled with details about school, about his foster family, about the college applications he was starting to think about. In one letter, he included a photo. It was old, faded, from when he was maybe 7 years old. He and Jeff at a baseball game, both grinning at the camera. On the back, Jeff had written, "Me and my boy. Best day ever." I kept that photo on the wall of my cell. A reminder of what I'd taken, what I was trying to make right, what I could never fully repair. 8 months into my sentence, I got a visit that surprised me. Tommy DiCarlo, Hendricks' old driver. "Didn't think I'd see you here," I said, sitting across from him in the visitor's room. "Yeah, well, things change." He looked older, tired. "Hendricks dead. His operation fell apart. Most of his people are either locked up or scattered." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I wanted you to know, Jeff didn't die for nothing. What you did, taking that bullet for his kid, going to prison, it meant something. The DA used your testimony to take down what was left of Hendricks' network. You helped finish what Jeff started." I didn't know what to say. "He'd be proud of you," Tommy continued, "for finally doing the right thing. Even if it took you 15 years to get there. I don't deserve his pride." "Maybe not. But you've got it anyway." Tommy stood to leave. "Take care of yourself, Antonio. And take care of that kid when you get out. He needs someone who knew his father." After he left, I sat in the visitor's room for a long time, staring at nothing, thinking about Jeff. About the friend I'd failed. About the son I'd saved. About the debt that could never be fully repaid but that I'd spend the rest of my life trying to honor. I got out in 18 months, just like my lawyer had predicted. Sarah was waiting for me at the gates, looking more beautiful than I'd remembered. "Ready?" she asked. "For what?" "For everything. For the rest of our lives. For trying to build something real this time." I took her hand. "Yeah. I'm ready." Diego met us at the apartment. He was taller now, almost 16, looking more and more like his father every day. We'd talked about this moment in our letters, what it would be like when I got out, what we'd do next. "So," he said, awkward but trying. "You hungry?" We were thinking about ordering pizza. Such a normal thing. Such an everyday, ordinary, beautiful thing. "Pizza sounds perfect," I said. We sat around the small dining table, the three of us, eating pizza and talking about nothing important. School. Work. The weather. Normal conversation, like normal people, like we weren't bound together by tragedy and guilt and impossible debts. At one point, Diego pulled out his phone, showed me a picture. "This is my foster brother, Miguel. He's a pain, but he's okay. I'm teaching him to play guitar." "You play guitar?" "My dad taught me. Before." He trailed off. "Jeff played?" I said softly. "I didn't know that." "Yeah. He was pretty good." He said it helped him think, helped him process things when prison got too loud. The image of Jeff in a cell, playing guitar to drown out the noise, the fear, the regret, it broke something in me. "I'm sorry," I said, the words inadequate but necessary. "Diego, I'm so sorry. For everything. For what I took from you." Diego was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I know. And I'm trying to forgive you. It's hard, and some days I can't, but I'm trying. Because my dad would want me to. And because holding on to hate is too exhausting." Sarah reached over, squeezed both our hands. "We're all trying. That's what matters." Months passed. Then a year. I started rebuilding my life, this time without lies. Got a job in nonprofit work, helping ex-convicts reintegrate. It felt right, using my experience to help others avoid the mistakes I'd made. Sarah and I got married in a small ceremony. Diego walked me down the aisle, a role reversal that felt appropriate somehow. He was 17 now, preparing for college, talking about studying criminal justice like Sarah. "I want to help people like my dad," he told me one night. People who get caught up in systems they don't understand, who make mistakes and pay for them their whole lives. He'd be proud of you, I said. I hope so. Diego paused. I'm listing him as my father on my college applications. Diego Rivera, son of Jeff Rivera. Not hiding who he was or what happened. Is that stupid? No, I said. It's brave. It's exactly what Jeff would want. On what would have been Jeff's 45th birthday, the three of us visited his grave. Diego brought his guitar, played a song he'd written. Sarah brought flowers. I brought a letter I'd written but could never send, full of apologies and gratitude and grief. I still talk to him sometimes, Diego admitted, sitting on the grass beside the headstone. Tell him about school, about my foster family becoming my real family, about how I got accepted to 3 colleges. I don't know if that's weird. It's not weird, Sarah said. I think he hears you. I tell him about you too, Diego said to me. About how you're trying. How you're different now. I think he'd be glad. That you're finally living honestly. Do you think he'd forgive me? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Diego thought about it for a long time. I think he already did. A long time ago. You're the only one who hasn't forgiven yourself yet. Maybe he was right. Maybe Jeff had forgiven me in that cell, during all those years I was building my lie of a life. Maybe that's what the letter had really been about, not just protecting Diego, but giving me a chance at redemption. We sat there until the sun started to set, 3 people bound together by loss and love and the long, difficult work of forgiveness. Later, back at home, I found Sarah on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. You okay? I asked, wrapping my arms around her from behind. Just thinking. About how life works out sometimes. How the worst thing that ever happened to you brought Diego into our lives. How your biggest mistake led to you becoming the person I actually fell in love with. You fell in love with a lie, I reminded her. No, she said firmly. I fell in love with glimpses of the real you, buried under all those lies. The man who felt guilty even when he thought no one knew why. The man who couldn't watch injustice without flinching. The man who jumped in front of a bullet for a kid he'd only known for a few days. I'm still the man who let Jeff take the fall. Yeah. And you're also the man who spent 18 months in prison to make it right. Who set up a college fund for his son. Who shows up to every one of Diego's guitar recitals. Both things are true, Anthony. You don't get to only claim the bad parts. I held her tighter. How did I get so lucky? To have you, after everything? You didn't get lucky. You chose to stop running from your past. That's not luck, that's courage. That night, I lay awake thinking about Jeff. About the friend I'd failed, the debt I could never repay, the forgiveness I was slowly learning to accept. My phone buzzed. A text from Diego, can't sleep. Keep thinking about my dad. Do you think he knew? That you'd come through for me in the end? I typed back, yeah. I think he always knew. He had more faith in me than I had in myself. That sounds like him. Get some sleep. Big day tomorrow. He had a college interview in the morning. You too. And Anthony? Yeah. Thanks. For everything. I set my phone down, Sarah breathing softly beside me, and for the first time in 15 years, I felt something close to peace. The debt could never be fully repaid. Jeff's years were gone, his life cut short, his son left without a father. Nothing I did could change that. But I could honor his memory. I could be there for Diego. I could live honestly, love openly, face my past instead of running from it. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. And Jeff, generous even in death, had believed that something was worth dying for. I fell asleep thinking about a boy I'd known 30 years ago, who'd shared his lunch when I had none, who'd had my back in every fight, who'd taken 15 years in prison and never once blamed me. Who'd trusted me with his son's life even after I'd destroyed his. And somehow, impossibly, I hadn't let him down. Not this time. This time, I'd finally been the friend he'd always deserved.